Welcome. We're going to graph linear inequalities. Now remember we graphed these on number lines. Now we're going to graph them on a coordinate plane. And it is basically the same as graphing a regular line, except the signs, of course, are the difference, okay? So for instance, if you look at this first line's already graphed for you. If you go back to what an equation looks like, right? That would be y equals x. So we know the slope is going to be 1 over 1. And the y-intercept is going to be nothing or 0. So that's how we got the line going, right? Up 1 over 1. Okay, we started at the origin. Now, let's take a look at the inequality sign. So now we're going to take a look. This says greater than or equal to. So if it's greater than or equal to or less than or equal to, it gets a solid line. All right. And one other thing is that all the answers lie on the line, or the answers can be bigger, greater than. Now, if you look at this line and if I was to ask you what part of the line is greater than, that would be the top half. So this area here, people shade it in. I usually put like an S in there, okay? It doesn't matter as long as you signify where your answer is going to be. So any answer inside of here is going to make sense. So if you just quickly, if I plugged in, I don't know, let's say negative 4, 2, right? Negative 4, 2. Well, that's x and that's y. So 2 is greater than negative 4. And any answer over here would not work. So for instance, 4, 1 right here, right? Well, 1 is not greater than 4, so that would not be an answer. All right, now we got the opposite of this, okay? So on this one, the slope is negative 1 over 1, so that's why it's going down, right? The y-intercept is 0. Okay, so basically it's the complete opposite of the first one. Let's look at the sign now. Okay, greater than or equal to. Well, that means it's going to get a solid line. And since y is less than, that means all the answers are going to lie. I'll just put a big S in here. So everything below the line and including the line will work for this problem. So if you pick any point in here, so let's say that point there, which is negative 7, 2, right? And if I plugged it in, well, 2, yes, 2 is less than negative 7, right? Well, that actually would be a positive, wouldn't it? So that would be 2 is less than 7, so that would work, okay? Anything in this region would not work. Let's look at a few more. All right, so graphing this, we're going to need two things. Remember again, y equals mx plus b, our famous equation of a line. So the slope is going to be 3, or 3 over 1, so we could graph it. And the y-intercept is going to be negative 2. All right, so we're going to start at negative 2. And we're going to have a positive slope, so our line will be going up. So we're going to go 1, 2, up 3 over 1. 1, 2, up 3 over 1. Then I think we ran out of room. Let's go backwards. 1, 2, down 3 over 1. All right, it's greater than or equal to, so it's going to get a solid line. Okay. And then let's figure out what area we are going to shade in. Well, if it's greater than, that would mean anything above the line. So anything in this area right here is going to be a solution. And if you wanted to take a test point, the easy one on here would be 0, 0, the origin. And that one you could probably just check in your head, right? So 0 is greater than, well, 3 times 0 is nothing. So that would just read 0 is greater than negative 2, which is correct. All right. Let's take a look at a few more here on the next page. All right. Now we're looking at a slope. So I have a slope. And remember, I always like to make the numerator the negative part. So negative 1 over 2. And then I am going to start at 4. Okay, so let's get this thing rolling. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Y-intercept. I'm going to go down 1, and then to the right 2. Down 1, to the right 2. Down 1, the right 2, and let's do one backwards, right? Now, you'll notice that this doesn't have the line underneath, so we're going to get a dashed line, okay? So we have a dashed line, and it's less than. So if you look at the line, anything less than would be below the line. So you'll notice again the origin should be part of my answer. So if you want to just double check, 0, 0, right? So 0 is less than, and that knocks that out. So 0 is less than 4 is correct. All right, the next two you'll notice are not in slope-intercept form. So our job is to get them into slope-intercept form. So if you remember from our previous lesson when we were graphing equations, right? We're just going to take the 2x, move it over to the other side, which means we have to subtract it. Okay. Which means my slope is going to be negative 2 over 1. I got another negative slope. And my y-intercept or starting point is going to be on 5. All right, so let's get this thing rolling. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. My slope is negative 2, so that means I'm going to go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. All right, let's look at what type of line that's going to be. That's going to be a solid line, right? And it says it's what? It is greater than. So greater than will refer to anything that is above the line. So all my answers here, all these ordered pairs would work. All right, number 2, again, not in slope-intercept form, so we're going to have to do a little manipulation of the equation, right? Well, the first thing you're going to have to do is move the 2x over like we did before by subtracting it. So that's going to be negative 2x, and that is a positive 15. Now, what are we doing? We are dividing. Now remember the golden rule with inequalities. Anytime I multiply or divide by a negative, I reverse the inequality sign. Okay, so I flip the sign, and then 2 negatives would actually give me a positive slope. And then negative 3 goes into 15. That's that negative 5 times, all right? So my slope is 2 over 3. My y-intercept is negative 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. All right, now I'm going to go what? Up 2, 1, 2 over 3. 1, 2, 3. Up 2, 1 over 3. I can't do anything the other way. And it gets a what kind of line? Solid. Just remember if there's anything underneath there, that means solid. Now, remember I flipped the sign, right? So it's actually less than. So less than would be anything below the line, which would refer to anything under the line. So all my answers are there. Okay. So for instance, 0, 0 on this one would not be a answer, right? Because if you plugged in 0, 0, 0 is not greater than 15. That's why I didn't cover it up. All right, we're going to look at the last two. I call these special equations. Let's take a look at the last two. All right, what I call my special equations. Special, first of all, you only have one letter with this, okay? Now, if you recall when we were graphing the equations, all right, one would make a horizontal, one would make a vertical. Well, which one's which? Well, I look at the equation here. It says y is -5, right? So I'm going to put, I have 1 point. Really, the only way your line could go is horizontal, right? And also it's telling you that all these points here that I'm graphing, right, have -5 as their y coordinate. So for instance, like this one is 4, -5, right? This one over here is 3, -3, -5, right? Now, let's look at the inequality sign. So it's going to be a solid line, right? And I think these are pretty easy to see which one's the answer. Greater than, obviously, is going to be on the top, right? And then less than would be on the bottom, wouldn't it? Now the last one. X is greater than 4. Well, I have 1 point, don't I? I have 4. Okay. Now the only way this line's going to go is up and down, right? So if you look at this, what is that? That's 4, 1, 4, 2, right? 4, -2. So X is always going to be 4. Now when I connect these, this is going to be a dashed line, right? Because of the sign. And X has to be what? Bigger than 4. All right, well, bigger would be on this side, right? Smaller would be on the other side. Okay. All right, so that is our lesson on graphing inequalities.